Good morning and welcome to Techers IT Solutions. We've got a bit of that's the laptop, that's fine. Hi, I am Pete from Techers IT Solutions. We are live today to talk to Dan from Heelan Associates. Welcome, Dan.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming along. Just to fill in any viewers, we are live on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. If you have any questions, then ask them on Facebook or YouTube because they'll come through to our little chat thing we've got, so we can field any questions that you might have. But welcome, Dan. I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself, a bit about yourself, your business, that kind of thing.
Always. So I'm Dan from Heelan Associates. We're a firm of business accountants, so hopefully nobody switched off straight away because accounting is pretty exciting these days, as I'm sure we're going to talk about, and very much IT based. I always joke we're an IT company. I mean, you guys are actually an IT company, but we do feel like an IT company a lot of the time with the cool things that we can do. And yeah, we're business accountants mainly based in Waterlooville, but because of technology, of course, we can operate all over the world. We've got clients in sort of Bali, Nepal, like really random places because it doesn't matter where you are, bookkeeping can be bookkeeping if that's needed and everything else. So, and it's great because technology, it's all in the cloud. We've got great applications that we can use where people can snap all their receipts and it just comes through to us. So all that in mind, we've got clients all over the place. But our little office, it's not so little these days, but it's based in Waterlooville. We've got a good team there of bookkeepers, payroll people, accountants, finance people, about 16 of us at the moment and growing. So if anybody knows, if they think they're a superstar accountant and they want to come and work somewhere that's progressive and exciting, then do tap me up because we're always looking for future talent.
You recruiting now? Or you kind of?
We're always recruiting for the right person, always.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
So we're always looking. I think the accounting industry is probably full of people that we'd love to talk to at some point. So because you and I were talking about this off mic, but there's a very stereotypical type of accountant, isn't there? I think and unfortunately they do exist, especially with the amount of time it takes, I think, to research and test new technology and implement that in your business. It can be quite difficult. So we're always looking for anybody that wants to make a move into something a bit more exciting. So
Accountancy is one of those. It's one, I guess, a few industries that I think is kind of being forced along technology-wise because it's, MTD is coming along, Sage and Xero I think really was one of the main kickers because I think Xero's done their thing, the whole online accountancy platform. And then Sage has gone, we probably need to do the same thing.
Better catch up. Yeah,
we need to catch up because I know. We work with accountants. I don't know if you still use like Sage 2011. I guess you can't anymore.
I can 100% say we've not got it installed on a desktop in our entire building. No, it's one of those things we moved away from a long time ago, mainly because the product's good. I mean, and we've got quite a few accountants in our team that love it. They came from other practices where they used it, and they actually lament the fact that I think that we don't get to play with it enough. But we do have the odd client that has it on their machines, but they're slowly all being moved because it's expensive and it's prohibitive. If you must have found as an IT company, do you get involved with your client Sage?
Thankfully we went straight onto Xero when we started. So just everything because Sage is just so the customers we support with they have lots of Sage installations out there and they just go wrong all the time. Yeah. Literally, so they'll release a new software update and it'll break a feature, and then they won't fix it until like 3 or 4 months later. It's just horrendous, and we just try and encourage everyone to get onto a cloud-based solution straight away because it just fixes that whole problem. It's not our problem anymore. It's not the customer's problem anymore. It's just in the cloud, and generally, even if there are issues with the likes of Xero Online, they're fixed within 24, 48 hours or something. You don't have to wait for like another software update a month or two later.
And the downtime, I think people are concerned about what happens if it goes down. Hand on heart, I think it's gone down, as far as I can remember, when I've actually wanted to use it, it's gone down once in about 3 years for any amount of time. And, you're talking like half a day and they bring it back up. So
it used to be bank fees for us. That was the main thing that went down. We used to bank with Lloyds, and they went through the... what was the third-party bank feed? Yodlee. Yeah. And that used to go down. And literally, so we used to have my wife does the accounts, and she'd come in like one day a week, and it would be on that one day that it would go down.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't fix it for another like 2 days, and then it would go down the next week, and it was just it's horrendous. We've moved now, and that's literally not been a problem since we moved.
No, and it's interesting. So people quite often talk. I'm in different groups on Facebook, and people talk about this a lot when we go to network, and it's normally the thing people want to know about is what software should I be on? And the answer is normally has been previously, what bank are you with? Because actually the integration of the bank is where most of the time saving for anybody is. So if your bank doesn't integrate very well, it was never a good idea. Open banking's appearing, so they're changing all the tech at the moment. Hopefully that's going to resolve a lot of this. So you don't have this Yodlee issue where, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, all that happened is there was a third party used to effectively submit your online banking details to. And it would sort of scrape your data off of your online banking. As you say, 3 parties involved, something goes wrong. Lloyds were renowned for having problems with it. But you could pay Xero that they paid the bank for the feature to have a direct feed. So, for example, our main business, I'm involved with the accountancy business. We mainly bank with Barclays because they're excellent. And you pay £3 for as many accounts as you want, and every day the transactions come in automatically. You don't have to press anything, and it's the best £3 you'll ever spend a month. You know, so
very much so.
But you couldn't do that with QuickBooks at the time, and until open banking comes, I don't think you still can as it currently stands. So
is that happening at the moment? The open banking, is that like a standard they're bringing in?
Yeah, definitely. I think what the biggest issue with it is the banks are slow to react to the technology changes. I mean, you can imagine the size of the infrastructure probably required to change all this to have it open to all these app developers or other people that want to use it. But at the moment, there's a lot going on. So it's one of the things actually you should be checking now. If you've got active bank feeds, there are some bank feeds that are getting broken because of the introduction or change to the technology. So it's worth looking at. But yeah, it's an exciting place to be, depending how you view your banking details potentially being open. I mean, you've got to authorize it, but it's an interesting area. But yeah, so quite often the software choice will be down to that. But one of the things we see a lot is we very rarely steer people towards Sage, just because I think the current cloud product's okay, but it's on catch up.
Is that Sage 1? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's I don't know what the online one's called now. We've got a couple of clients on it.
One of the frustrating thing for us is they brought out Sage 50 Cloud.
Yes,
and it's not actually in the cloud.
No, it's that. We had the same problem trying to talk to the helpline when a client came and said, "I got the cloud one." We're like, "What cloud one?" Because there's a true cloud, and there's effectively it's almost like a Dropbox backup, isn't it? That does. And then you can have syncing issues. We spent ages with the client doing it. It's just horrendous. So at the minute, I never advise anybody to go that way. I'm sure people who love it will continue to use it.
Yeah.
But Xero and QuickBooks are really your market leaders. And then you got Free Agent coming on board. They've been around for many, many years, but recently been bought
by NatWest or something?
Yeah, they've been bought. The company's been bought out, as I understand it, by NatWest. So as a result, they can offer it free with their banking.
Yeah, they're trying to push it onto us, and we're like, no, we've got Xero. It's
no, I mean, and in the right circumstances, it's an okay product. For me, it's a little bit like when you look at cars, isn't it? There's different standards of cars depending on what you want, and it's okay. It does what it does currently, and it's certainly come on leaps and bounds from where it was. But it's not one of the ones that see us as accountants and bookkeepers we get particularly excited about using, I've got to admit, but we do have plenty of clients on it. But as a result, the technology is moving fast. But as a business owner, you must appreciate the ability just to check who owes you what invoices there and there.
Hugely, and all the automation behind it as well, to be able to like chase automatically and all that whole kind of, when it's reconciling, it's just a tick box and you're done.
Yep.
It's just incredibly fast nowadays.
Yeah.
So just around tech in your business, because looking through your Twitter and LinkedIn messages and things, you're very into your tech.
Oh yeah, I do
just
love
generally,
tech.
apart from the business side of things, you like your dual screens and your iPads and things.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of other tech that you use in your business?
So we use one of the things I would say, and it's the one non-cloud thing we've got in the business, but it is awesome, and that is a product called Virtual Cabinet, which is a document management system, really. But imagine being able to all your clients' information being able to Google stuff internally. That's a little bit what it's like. So if we sent an email a year ago and we were talking about a particular thing, you can literally content search saved emails to find that email. So if you're at home, we've got dial-in connections. We can dial in from wherever we are. Check the server, stick it in Google. I mean, you can obviously bring the filters right down to make that a little bit better. But and that is an amazing efficiency, because we spent ages. We had somebody employed to file paperwork, which wasn't particularly exciting for anybody. Half the problem was the files were on people's desks. So as we expanded, you'd end up spending all this time just sending people around the office. Have you got this file? And of course, it all disappeared overnight. Okay, you got the investment of the training, the software itself. We then put giant dual monitors on everybody's computer, because one of the things we do, apart from being in the cloud, is we also are really keen on receipt capture technology. So we give somebody an app. I mean, the two market leaders are called Auto Entry and Receipt Bank, but you can go on, snap your coffee at Costa or wherever, and we see it on the cloud. So having it on two screens means we can see the receipt on one and bookkeep on the other, or we can see all our digital records on one. Saves printing costs. We're all into cost savings as accountants. So it's more the combination of tech, and I don't think at the minute you can discount anything. There's so much new stuff happening. I mean, we visit Accountex, which is the big London exhibition every year, to see what's on, and sometimes you think, I haven't learned a lot, but every now and then you meet some product and you think that's amazing, we'll have a play with that and see what goes on, and it's constantly evolving. So actual tech pieces themselves, interesting discussion, I suppose, because you've got a MacBook there. I've always been a big fan of Macs from a business investment point of view. I find they just had a longer lifespan. I don't know. They don't slow down.
Yeah, I think I've been quite lucky with mine. I think I dropped mine a few times and they replaced them for free. So I've had to actually physically pay money for them very few times. But yeah, even their warranty and stuff is just incredible because you'll take them back, they'll repair them, and you'll get them back the same day and things. Have you got a few Macs in your business?
Well, this is the bizarre thing about it is we started off, and I was thinking about at one point transferring a lot of it across. The problem we have in the industry is that most of the accounting stuff, aside from cloud, is designed for Windows-based PCs. So actually, we ended up moving back to a Windows-based system.
Right.
But I still have a MacBook that I used to dial in because I like the feel of it, you know. And it's one of those things. I used to replace my laptop every year because it just felt like it slowed down or something's happening. Yeah. I've still got a 2008 MacBook Pro, and the only reason I don't use it, that one, is because it's obviously insecure with the updates. But I replaced it in 2014. I think my current one is still working. So, but
is that the last one before they changed the shape to be like unibody and sealed everything in so you could open it up?
That's it. Yeah. And it and the thing with it is I liked it, but one of the things I found just recently with Apple products, like I own an iPhone and an iPad and everything, is I just don't feel that innovation's what it used to be. So it hasn't excited me as much to go and do it. But normally, if I do look at spending on IT equipment that's going to be a lasting thing, especially on a phone, I would normally go that kind of way. But saying that, all our accountants have got business mobiles and none of those are iPhones, just because you have to balance the cost and they don't need the camera and the funky features at this particular moment. So so IT, I don't know, we spend fortune on it, but I'd say actually one of our biggest expenditures software, because there's so many different things you need. And
subscription based, I guess, as well. Yeah,
all subscription based, but it helps drive down the actual cost people pay us, because like bookkeeping's an interesting one. People talk in some of these trade groups about bookkeeping being an unskilled admin type role, but like my bookkeeping team have all been through college for 3-4 years, spent thousands on their training. They're all very well paid, but then what they can do in an hour versus what an untrained business owner can do in 5 with the right technology is an amazing difference. So, and the only reason we can do that is because of tech. So, so we're always looking at ways to try and improve that, really.
Going back to your point on your iPhone, because I saw something interesting when I was browsing your social media.
Oh, yeah.
I decided to do a bit of digging.
Yeah, no,
so in September 2017, you tweeted to say that you couldn't see any reason to upgrade from your 5S to the X.
No, I couldn't at the time, no.
Then in August 2018, you posted a blog post about how you just spent £1,000 on an iPhone X.
You got it, yeah.
What changed your mind?
Originally, because the phone was working and it wasn't slow. That was the key. And
because the whole battery slowdown thing was this.
Yeah, it happened, and then it was like, boom, productivity out the window. The minute productivity dies, I'm buying the next bit of kit, and that's what happens with that. And I really like it. It's got a problem at the moment, but as you say, I can take it back to Apple and they'll probably swap it for me. But awesome phones. Stupidly overpriced, of course, but
they are, very much so. But then I'm quite similar in terms of, and particularly for the stuff that I do, I'm always on my phone. My wife tells me all the time I'm glued to my phone, and that if I'm going to have something that I'm going to do so much stuff on, then I need it to be the best, fastest one. I want to be able to go between my apps as quickly as possible and be able to send stuff as quickly as possible. So it's always I'll always go for the best one. Not quite sure about the size of it because I quite like the smaller form factor. Yeah, I've got the Max version. So it's like massive,
like a big brick
tablet thing.
Yeah.
But it's just I always have to have the latest and greatest.
Yeah. No, IT people, you're going to, and I think I'm all for a gadget, but I explained to my daughter. So my daughter's getting on for 13, and she all says to me, "I really want an iPhone X." I'm like, "Why do you want an iPhone X?" And she's like, "Well, because it's cool and it's really good." And it's like, well, it is, but what are you going to use it for? And if you're just going to Snapchat your mates, you don't need that kind of phone. And when I explain to it, and it's a business tool, social media, photos, good quality photos are important, videos important, all those things you do, plus the efficiency of it being really quick is a really important thing. And therefore for me, it would be worth spending the money. I always joke that I like a 5-year rule on those kind of expenditures. If you're going to spend $1,000 on a phone, it should last
a while,
some time. So as long as it fulfills all those things, I think there are an investment. It's a business tool, the same as anything what we're talking on right now and all your equipment. It's just a few quid in here, but it's an investment, isn't it? So
your answer is when you're going to start your business, or
yeah. I always say to her,
or save up.
Well, no, she says to me, "Can I have it?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." She says, "Yeah, really?" I said, "Yeah. Just go and ask a stranger for money." I said, "I do it all day long." You just got to get the skills and something that people want to buy off you. So it's always a bit of a joke, but in the right circumstances, it's great.
You mentioned briefly earlier like add-ons for Xero, like Receipt Bank. We use Receipt Bank. It's massive for us because we receive a lot of our invoices through emails. So we receive PDFs all the time.
Fantastic.
And lots of those, basically we plumb them straight into Receipt Bank. Receipt Bank then pulls them through, pulls all the details out, chucks it straight into Xero, and we don't really have to do anything other than just pay them.
Yeah.
All the paperwork's kind of already on there, and it attaches the original invoice into Xero as well, which is really nice.
It's fantastic. I think that's one of the underappreciated factors about what it does is you've got this common record. So if HMRC want to come and see something, you slide them the iPad across the table and go, there you go. It's all in there. It's all in there. There's no boxes or receipts trying to find it in someone's loft from years ago. So
are there any other add-ons, plugins, any other kind of apps out there that you'd recommend that you're using daily or your clients are using?
The main ones is a receipt capture. I think if you're not using a direct bank feed into your software and you're not using the receipt capture, I'd argue that you're probably just not using the software properly, because that's where all the efficiency comes from. But then it comes down to what you do. So you mentioned about credit control. So like Xero's got a basic credit control feature that will send reminders, but there's a product called Chaser that can bring that to the next level and do other certain customizable things you can do with it. That's a plugin. Like all these things, of course, you add in subscriptions to the top of the thing you're doing. But that's quite good. It's a bit like if you're in retail, there's vendor, there's quite a few. A lot of it depends on what sector you're in. But Chase is quite a good one if you can. If you've got that need, it very much depends on your business model of whether you need to be chasing people up for invoices. But that's quite good. Just trying to think about anything else that comes in.
Float's another one we use for like cash flow forecasting things. Really good.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably a bit more advanced than on your
on the Xero side. Very much so. Because the good thing for Float for us is that if you want to like employ a member of staff or have an extra expense, we can then go, well, actually, we're going to choose this scenario and see what it's going to do to our cash flow. And that works really. Moving offices, we kind of forecasted that into our cash flow forecast, so we can see what happens to our accounts. If they start taking a dive after we do that, then that worked really, really well. I'm trying to think if there's any others.
Yeah, they're good ones. I mean, there's an American version called Live Plan as well, which is a bit more cost effective, and it's geared to be slightly more user intuitive, and that's quite good. I think it's only something like $100 a year for the subscription. Same thing, you can do scenario plan. It also puts together a nice business plan that is printable. So if you're thinking of starting your business up and you want to produce some bits and pieces, that's quite good. Again, plugin strips the data from Xero, does your cash flow forecasting. Same thing. I mean, we actually tweaked it when we did our expansion into the new building, like you said. So yeah, does seem to be a good one.
Sorry, camera problems. Are there any common themes or things that you get with clients, like common mistakes they're making, like they bad at managing money, spending too much money on silly things? Is there anything you kind of come across regularly that you're like, that's an obvious thing? It's
an interesting thing, because I think a lot of people say, as accountants, can you tell me where I'm spending too much money? And sometimes you can say, look, these naff printers you've got in your office that you're spending $3,000 a year on printer cartridges, just go and rent one. It'll be half the price, So there are sometimes the real obvious ones. A lot of the time, actually, the answer is not, from a business point of view, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, is it's not always the cost saving that's the issue. Sometimes I'll actually say to people, you need to spend more. You need to spend more on marketing. This is the top line that's actually the issue, not the cost. It's a bit like your home stuff. There's only so much when people home budget you can cut off without thinking, well, what's the point in actually being around? At some point, you've got to think, how do I get more money? And I'd say that's one of the biggest mindset changes for people, I think, sometimes is, yes, you need to be in control of your figures. What does that mean? Well, yes, you don't want to be spending too much, but we've just talked about amazing amounts of software there that we would both spend our money on to save us time and allow us the thing to do. So spending the money in the right areas is probably there. And also, I think from an accountant's point of view, because we deal with such a wide range of businesses, we have got a bit of a feel for what a market rate for something is. So if you're paying something crazy, we can't just say, why are you paying that? Like, I've got 3 people I know that will do, it might be an amazing service, in which case fine, because price is an interesting thing, and we could spend all day talking about that. But yeah, from that point of view. But I'd say from a mistake point of view, it's more just, I think people underappreciate the knowledge required. I mean, the current tax law is like 22,000 pages and growing. Is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And even accountants, we still have to, if you ask me a very complicated question, I might have to say to you, well, actually, I need to speak to a specialist on that, or on this particular area, or do you know what, I need an afternoon to have a think about that in a quiet room, so there's a lot going on. And I think and then we see people who've been self-assessment. It's called self-assessment for a reason. You can't do it, but they bring us in this help and doing it myself for years, and I've not seen one that's correct yet. So I've seen some that are very close, but I've not seen them where we can't add value, where it's like, actually, you working from your house, if you considered there's an alternate method to claiming what you're claiming at the moment, let's have a look at that, or those kind of things. VAT is a major one. I mean, the VAT rules in this country are ridiculously complex, and the amount of times you see that in there. The scariest thing, I think, is the amount of things that people get away with, and I mean that because HMRC have just not got the resources. So I think there's a lot of people doing it, or doing it incorrectly, most probably, where they're like, they're telling their mate down the pub, I'll just put all my car through. You know, my car's going through my limited company and my wife's car, and it's all good. Like I see it a lot on in a trade group, for example. And you see it a lot in there. People come in and they ask for advice on how does everyone do in their cars? Well, I just stick my wife's through. My uncle's is on there. Like, it's all good. We claim all the VAT back. Wrong, and wrong.
Okay.
And a lot of the time you can do these things. They're just not tax efficient. And but often what you see is it's just wrong, and it's scary because the penalties are massive for getting that kind of thing wrong. It's one of the things I think they don't communicate very well. HMRC, they say it's self-assessment, do it yourself. Doesn't have to be taxing. But we've got £100. You know, there's like 100% penalty if you get it completely.
Is there like a cut-off date, like 5 years later, then they can't go back? Is there
the normal rule people you would normally say is about 7 years. I mean, I've seen them when they do go back that far. If they feel that you've been taking the mick, basically,
and haven't done it by like genuine mistake.
Yeah. But we're seeing currently in the industry. Have you seen anything about the loan charge at the moment?
No.
So this bit off tangent, bit technical, I suppose, but there was an ability, and I always think anything like this that sounds too good to be true is going to be proven to be too good to be true. And what you could do a few years ago is, if you were contracting, so say you're an IT contractor, you had the ability to say go offshore and work for a trust, and the trust would bill. And you would take loans rather than wages that were never repayable. Okay. Sounded awesome. You paid a ridiculously low rate of tax. They actually rewrote the HMRC says not retrospective. There's a lot of people that would disagree with that particular thing, but effectively gone back nearly 10 years and are asking for all this tax back. So it's a massive thing. If you're bored on Twitter, just go look for hashtag loan charge or something like that and see the rage. Because of course, this is people's houses, lives, and everything and ultimately some of them might be made bankrupt on those kind of money that they're after. So, in terms of retrospective, you've just got to get it right from day one. Where I do have some sympathy for that. I mean, if I said to you, I'm not going to pay you for the next couple of years, I'm just going to loan you money, well, you don't have to repay it. You should have you should have some sort of
that there's something going on there.
Yeah. But I also do have quite a bit of sympathy because those people would have been told by accountants that was okay at the time.
True.
So not all accountants, but some.
Yeah.
And that would have been that. So, I think it's more just a case of, I think people underappreciate what is actually going on in this world. And some of our clients are really switched on. I know you guys seem to be quite switched on. We're sitting next to that Tesla out in the driveway. Very super from very next year.
Efficient.
Very tax efficient. Yeah.
We've got two of them. They're so tax efficient.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's currently they are. Of course, they could easily change the percentages.
Yeah.
But at the moment, and that's the first time that in some time I'm saying to people, a company car might be a good idea if you're buying one of these, but and that's the thing is that the tax law not only changes once/twice a year depending on how the budgets are done, but it can change daily depending on what happens in the courts. And of course, unless you're on top of this, you don't know. And so silly things like you'll have a self-employed person claiming their clothing that they're wearing because they're a painter and decorator and going through joggers like they're out of fashion, but the case laws will tell you can't claim those. You know, if they're uniformed or something, logoed up and they're effectively uniform, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think the rule was it always had to have a logo on, wasn't it? And then you can claim.
And it all goes back to a court case with a lady barrister. I don't know if she was a barrister solicitor. I can never quite get the differences. Looking to claim a wig and a suit, right? And she wasn't allowed the suit because it was dual purpose because it protected her modesty.
She could use it, right?
And it's silly, small technical things like this. Wow. We always get excited the other day because. The opposite was proven in a case recently with a stripper. There was a stripper, and she claimed
trying to claim?
lingerie and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
But because it didn't protect her modesty, that argument didn't exist. So she was allowed it as effectively like costume. So like, there's all these. Us tax geeks love it, but there's all these things that go on daily, and of course that knowledge is really what people are paying for, is us to make sure that they're okay and there's nothing going wrong, which is I think most people's primary concern. But as a business owner, and the reason I got into the game is I'm only interested in how can I keep as much of my own money without giving it to the tax man to squander somewhere. Because
that's half the bloody frustration is that. You work so hard, particularly, you work really hard setting up your own business and recruiting staff and getting staff to work for you, and then you give like half of it back to the government for like corporation tax and VAT, and it's just horrendous. Yeah, and the amount of corporation tax we spend, we could like employ another person for that quite easily. More than one person.
I mean, you and I have joked about business rates, but business rates is a killer for me. That's actually somebody's wages, and I can't tangibly see what's occurring. I mean. And again, we could probably
bins for that.
Yeah,
don't even collect the bins. Literally, exactly. Like nothing.
No, nothing. You pay service charges, don't you, to have it done? So, and again, I don't think people. I think it's interesting because you and I know the struggles of small business and what that means. But I think there's very much this view. We've gone off tangent here a little bit of businesses and corporations being the man and all that. And it's realistically, they're not. Most of them are struggling. Most of them are just trying to work a lot of hours to make things happen, pay people's wages, give people a job, and the rest of it. And tax is a massive deal in that. We're not all Amazons. I'm pretty sure I paid more than Amazon in my company last year. So
that's really frustrating. Though I made a note of that actually, because I remember one of my first years, I just paid like 20 or 30k in corporation tax, and then Facebook announced that they paid £4,800 or something. Off of a year where they made, I think they also declared something like a £30 million loss, supposedly. But they'd also paid like a £28 million bonus to all their staff. And it's ridiculous. And there was do you remember there was a TV show? It was a TV show quite a few years back where there was a group of a guy turned into a group of people that were trying to push back to HMRC and put changes in to stop these people kind of basically using all these loopholes. Because I think the loophole was that the likes of Facebook or just any company can do. You find an offshore, register a company offshore, and then you charge like your own company for
like a management
rights
fee,
to use your logo or something like that.
You got it.
And basically suck up all the profits, so you don't pay anything to the government at all. And the whole show was geared towards, well, if you're not going to make these changes, then all of the people that are going to join up with me, we're going to go take all of our companies offshore and not pay any corporation tax either. And I signed up thinking, yeah, that's awesome. They'll make some change. They didn't make any change whatsoever. And then I think I got an email a few years later, them trying to do like another campaign for something else. I'm like, well, are we going to move our accounts then? Like the whole idea was that if they're not going to listen, then we're going to pick up our accounts and offshore them. And like, no one's done it. So it's kind of, didn't really turn into much.
The biggest issue is the law. They're not really doing anything illegal. That's the biggest issue with it. It's very difficult to prove. As you'd imagine, they got a lot of money. A lot of money means a lot of legal defence and all the rest of it. And it is difficult. So, but you're right. It's a common frustration. I think people tend to broad brush the Amazons into the the 99% of small businesses that are kicking around, and it's wrong. And I think so as a result, when I retrained 12 odd years ago to come and requalified to come and do this, I was driven by the fact that I was in business, and at the time I had multiple different jobs, multiple sidelines or side hustles as they're now called, aren't they? He was taking my money, and I was like, I don't want him to take my money. There must be a legal way to do this without the old pay it into your wife's account, that kind of stuff. And the answer is there is a legal way. It's knowledge. I did a presentation the other day for a networking group, and it was I'll increase your income in 15 minutes. And I honestly believe the majority of people probably could with a 15-minute chat, and that's because there'd be something somewhere that
one little nugget somewhere
you didn't know about. You didn't know about. Even if you're employed, for a lot of people, they don't know about, for example, the difference in mileage rates. So your employer might pay you 25p a mile, but you can actually get tax back on 45p a mile. It's an easy claim, but most people don't know it exists. So it's all these small things. And I got absolutely obsessed about that when I was in business, and to the point where I was like super tax efficient. And then realised that actually I'll be pretty good at this as a job. So and that's where it led. But so I can't remember where we started, but we've ended up on a tangent. But you're right. The tax is an issue. I don't think anybody's got. Well, some people might have, but I don't think genuinely people have a problem with paying tax. I think all the time that we're concerned about what's happening with that tax money, then you want to keep it as low as you can. I had an interesting discussion with a lady on Facebook. She was talking to me about, tax avoidance this and tax avoidance that. And it's like, well, there's a difference between avoidance and just being efficient. And actually, she was a nurse. And my point to her was actually, you realise that you've probably got a tax deduction that allows you to get a tax deduction on your uniform. So, which you're probably taking. If you're not, you should be. How's that different to somebody else taking another tax efficiency? It doesn't help the media misreport this sometimes as well, because I remember a few years ago, an energy company had spent millions and millions on redoing all the infrastructure, and they didn't pay a lot of corporation tax. But for the reason that we just talked about with your vehicles, it just means you get an upfront tax deduction in that year that makes it worth doing. And also from a cash flow perspective, for some of these massive investments, cars are a bit maybe to one side, but your energy pylons you're spending this money on. But the media reported is they didn't pay much tax. Well, no, they didn't in that year. But if you look at their accounts, there's this thing called deferred tax, which takes into account that you're going to pay. You're going to be paying it later
and things.
So interesting topic though.
So there are any, just I guess sticking with the corporation tax side of things, because you're here and why not. We're about to finish our end of year.
Yeah.
Have you got any top tips for reducing corporation tax? I know electric cars, we've kind of done that already.
Talking about that a lot.
Which is very, very good. What's something else R&D we've done a fair bit of?
Yep. R&D's massive. Massive. Yeah.
Any other kind of top tips for saving tax?
A lot of the time, I'd say it's looking at the small things that you might underappreciate. So, I mean, receipt, I always go back to basics with a lot of this. Receipt capture is really important because I'm as bad as everyone else. If I take someone out for coffee and I put my hand in my pocket, now generally if I take you for coffee, it's not tax deductible, it's entertainment, right? Because I'm taking you out. Always sounds a bit like you should be in Stringfellows or something than entertainment when it's just a business meeting at Costa. But and I would lose that receipt. Now I've paid that out of my own taxed income. So as a business owner, it's been corporation tax, then I've had dividend or salary, however it's done, to pay that coffee. If I paid it from the company up here, then I've not had that secondary type tax attached to it, but I've lost it. So the first thing I'd say is, have you got the right systems in case to those milks you buy for the canteen that add up that you don't claim for, all those things. Look through your receipts, make sure you're done. Review what you're doing if you're working from home. There's quite a few allowances on that, depending on how you set that up. Make sure that's sufficient. There's clever stuff you can do in terms of renting. Given a license to occupy some of your house and all this stuff, but ultimately a lot of people just don't even claim the basic for working from home. So there's that. I'd also look for, have you come across trivial benefits? Have you heard of trivial benefits?
No, I don't think
so. I talk to so many people who don't know about this. The reality is the rule's designed for if you want to buy one of your staff a birthday present, they don't get any personal tax on it. As long as there's a limit of 50 quid and it's an all or nothing.
Oh, yes.
So,
I think it was like gifts. We looked at it.
Yeah, that's it. And like as a director, there's a cap of 300 quid in a tax year. So you've got to be a bit careful of it. But it's things like that. You might find the odd little saving where you think, actually, I will put that through the books. There's a bit of a trivial benefit at this particular point. Yeah. So it's reviewing all those small things and they compound over a year to realise that you've actually saved a lot. But you're right. I mean, there's grandiose schemes like buying a new Tesla and other things like that you can do currently. But a lot of the time I think for the most applicable thing to most businesses is understand all the quirks. Have you had your staff party at maximum 150 a head that you could have tax deduction? But it's the amount of small things people just think, it's all right, but it adds up. And as you grow the business as you have, you add that times that by all your employees, and it does
start adding up. Is it worth? I don't know if it's worth you perhaps explaining about the Tesla, because I've explained it a few times and in my own kind of speak, but maybe from an accountant's point of view, why it's so tax efficient to buy. It's not the Tesla, but just any electric car at the moment, isn't it? Yeah,
that's it. So they've decided to reduce the benefit in kind. So generally, one of the main questions we get asked as accountants is, can I put my car through my limited company? And most of the time, I'll say no. The reason being is that it's not very tax efficient. You can remunerate yourself with a split of salary and dividends that make that all effectively NI free, but maintain all the benefits of having paid NI and it's national insurance, and that's great. What happens when you put a car through it is they take a list price and they apply a percentage to that list price and say you're going to get taxed on that. So you might suddenly have another 10 grand taxable bill on top of your income, which you could have done more efficiently through claiming mileage for your business miles and all this kind of stuff. So generally, it's something that people have moved away from a small business point of view. With these, the benefit in kinds are going to be 0 to not a lot of money, in which case you can do them, and you can also claim allowances on them. That mean you can write them the whole value of it, depending on how you've bought it, I should say.
Yeah, it's off in the first year, I think, isn't it?
Down in the first year. Gives you a giant corporation tax reduction. So now
ding.
Yeah,
for me.
And of course, if you're then recycling them, there's ways of doing it. But like everything, I'll go back to basics with this though as a business owner. And the first thing I say to people is never spend money to save corporation tax as an ongoing, because you're spending, let's say 60, 70 grand on a car to save yourself 19% of it on corporation tax. If you can have the car anyway, do it. But it's the man in the van scenario. My mate down the pub buys a new van every year. Sweet, you're spending 10 grand to save 2 grand. It doesn't make any business sense, does it? So I'd just bear that in mind. But and that's why it's just the combination of being really low to 0 benefit in kind means the company can pay for it all and you're not getting inefficiently taxed on it, and the fact the company can take the tax deduction. So at the minute they're fairly exciting. So
I'm waiting for them to change it.
Oh,
they're going to change it at some point because they need to get their tax from somewhere. So
company cars over the years have consistently gone up every year. The percentage that's applied. Diesel's a great example. They suddenly put a surcharge on that. So you'd have to be careful.
This benefit in kind is going to drop soon. I think it's 2%. Going to drop 2 for the
you've got a lot of movement on those. But as somebody who would like to think that they try and do what they can for the planet, I think electric's worth looking at for more reasons. But obviously, you're being incentivized to do it at the moment. So
here's a question for you. I heard it on a podcast the other day, and I thought it was an interesting one to ask. Yeah. What is one thing you do with technology that would really annoy technology fans? Is it like not set a password on your phone, or your password was like 123456? Is there anything you can think of?
Yeah, it's
not something
difficult.
now. It could be years back. I've probably had a. I think when passcodes first went on phones, and mine was probably like 000.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
start with, I think.
Well, I have this argument with my wife. She for ages didn't have a passcode. I'm like, state protection for a start, like GDPR. Let's sort this out. So that went back on. I have it with the kids as well. It's like, no, you need this. Yeah, do you know what? I don't actually know. I think I'm a fairly techie person, so hopefully I don't do too much that irritates people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Good question, though. I like it.
Okay, cool. Getting back to, in terms of you running your business, what have been your biggest challenges? Has it been like recruiting staff, finding new customers? Of course, is always a challenge.
That's fun though. That's finding new customers is always fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are obviously doing a lot on the medias, and we all know video is a big thing at the moment.
Yeah.
But it does come with quite a technical skill cap, which I think
you
and I are discussing.
I mean, you can still go back to very traditional, direct mail and email marketing and those kind of things,
and they still have a place.
Yeah, very much so.
And also I should joke, because obviously the entry level in theory for videos short, isn't it? Because you can do what I call the older, I'm sitting in my car with my earpods, bit of noisy traffic in the background type deal, and you can do those kind of videos.
That's the exact reason we started doing our videos, because I saw so many of those on like LinkedIn that it just annoyed me, and I was like, well, if we're going to do it, let's do it properly.
And actually, I mean, I talk about this all the time in sales and marketing. Something as a business owner, I've always been quite passionate about how people deal with that. And I think I'd still rather see somebody putting out 7 videos a week of that quality than their one they do a month that everyone forgets about. So
very true.
Where I think the amazement is, and where you guys are sitting quite nicely with this, is its consistency and quality. If you can do the two, then anyway, we sidetracked, but that's the exciting part. Yeah, that's the exciting part. In terms of the challenges, I think it's always, and I'm sure you'd appreciate this, it's the chicken and egg scenario of adding members to the team. Always is you normally can, and we see this with so many clients. They say, I really need someone, but I can't afford them. And I'm like, can't afford them now, but if you carry on the trend you're on and you're confident you can. So when do you recruit is more the thing. And I think sometimes you need a long run in. Someone like us, where we're trying to recruit chartered accountants from practices that have probably been around a long time, you need a certain amount of run in to do that. So for us, as we've grown, I'd say it was trying to get the right people at the right time and afford them. And sometimes it's a balance. And I think that's the interesting thing about whether and what level you want to grow your business, because not everybody's got world domination in mind. They might just want to work 30 hours a week and earn 60 grand, and that'll do them for life. And we see plenty of lifestyle businesses like that, and I'm kind of jealous sometimes when you see them like
when you're hard at work at like 10 o'clock in the evening.
Exactly. Yeah. People who follow me on Instagram will see that I do some late shifts, but I always think that hopefully you put it in early and then you can take it out later. But I won't, because I love what I do. But
very much same here.
But it's there. But the so I'd say that's the main challenge is always that, and things like business rates and all the rest of it that jump in the way. Do hamper that.
Being an IT company and being an accountant, because you speak to a lot of businesses, it'd just be interesting to ask, on a cybersecurity point of view. We've got stories of people that have been caught out by ransomware and dodgy emails and people paying the wrong person. Have you got any interesting stories to tell of clients that have been caught out?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I'll keep them unnamed, but I actually knew an accounting colleague who had a firm who got caught out recently, and it's the age old, if you're aware of it, the text from the bank that says, click here, phone this number.
Really?
Of course, you're clicking through, phoning somebody completely different, who is then saying, there's a fraud on your account. Can you log into your online banking and transfer it to a holding account? It's those type of frauds. So I've seen that. I've seen that done several times. A lot of the time, though, it's just clicking on links. Like, as a person that spent their life around IT, I always thought it was really obvious, but it isn't. If you don't know, you don't know. And it's one of the things I think the banks are doing as much as they can to try and educate people, aren't they, to try and stop that. We have a cybersecurity company that come in and train our staff, and we have like a certification process. They get a little certificate at the end of it to say that they're cyber safe. Cool. And the reason being is that it's so you can do everything you can, as I'm sure you'll back me up on this. But ultimately, if that user's clicking that dodgy email link, they're clicking the link, aren't they?
Staff is always the last. Like we've got systems in place for email protection, stop like the emails getting to you in the first place, to protect the links within the emails. We've got web protection, stop you if you accidentally browse to a website through another means. But ultimately, it is the staff. We do have a staff training system, so it will ping. Basically, it fish tests you, so it'll actually send an email.
Oh, great!
A dodgy email or a legitimate dodgy email, and just try and catch people out.
Yeah, and that's a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got as part of one of the services we do, we have an outsourced finance function. So if somebody says, "Do you know what? I'm just rubbish with money. We're really good at doing this thing, but can you invoice our clients for us and check our money in and pay our staff?" And this, we will do it. So we do that for a few companies. And one of the directors of the company sent a supposed email to one of our finance team saying, "Can you pay this person?" And it would have been all completely legitimate, but their email was too well worded to be our client, rather than being like that stereotypical thing you think from Nigeria or whatever. Where it's like, "Oh, hello," I can't do the impression, but you've seen the programs, right? He knows. But it was like, "Oh, hello, sir. Sarah, can you please play this?" We're like, "He doesn't write like that. That's never that." And phoned him up, and his email had been compromised. And as a result, they were just literally looking through the cents and pinging emails all over our organisation, trying to get people to pay. Yeah. So, so it just happens all day, every day, and it's a massive, massive problem.
We've had probably the most convoluted one kind of happen recently. The cameras are right. They've broken today. They're overheating. Blimey. Okay. We've had probably the most convoluted ransomware issue we've had recently. Has been someone, a customer phoned, or a potential customer phoned in, a new customer phoned in, said they want the specific part for something, and they gave them the part number. And so what did the company do? They went away. They then Googled the part number and found the part number, purchased it, and then that was their money had gone. And what happened is that the whoever it was, the attacker or whatever you call it, so they'd phoned in and given them a part number. They'd then also spun up a website with the part number amongst loads of other legitimate part numbers on there, done loads of SEO to get it to the top of the Google rankings, and it just happened to be the first one that company then clicked on. Then sent them a PO, sent them money for it, and it's it's a lot of money that's been lost, and that's been probably one of the most in-depth. I mean, we've seen loads of others. We've seen where they've got the PA's password, and they've then intercepted emails and then realised, there's a big transaction going through, so I'm going to go in and just send another email saying, we've changed our bank details, here are new bank details. But it's there's so much of it still out there, and it's very much it's just people need to train your staff to the point where I think we generally advise all of our customers now that if bank details change, if they are new bank details, then always pick up the phone and phone them, because you just can't trust an email. They're all the protections you can put in place, you just still can't trust them. There are still ways it can get through.
And the banks, I don't know if you try to pay anything online. I know Barclays have now got an extra thing that asks you as a drop down that says, "What are you paying?" And then it gives you a little bespoke message that's like, "Are you sure?"
NatWest does the whole you are confirming that this is not a dodgy payment.
Yeah, that's it.
Am I sure? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Basically, kind of put the onus on you, because then you can't go back to them, I guess. If something happens.
It makes me sound really old, but only because my dad used to listen to the Archers or whatever, and it always sticks in my mind. It's that kind of thing. But Radio 4, there's a Moneybox podcast on there, and of course podcasting's. I don't know why. For me, podcasting seemed to have erupted in 2008, and it's amazing to me that it's such a big deal these days. But podcast, they're called Moneybox, that is done on Radio 4, and it's everything to do with finance, money, but like practical stuff, and cybersecurity is featured a lot on it for these kind of frauds, and they were talking a lot about all those types of fraud on it. So if it's one of those things you're interested about, I think in terms of knowing what's going on, is well worth listening to for that reason. Because and the bank, going back to your point, the banks are appearing all the time on there because they've been put under massive scrutiny, of course, because it's normally they wheel on some little old lady who's been scammed out of life savings, which is obviously a horrendous story. And they go through all the different methods of how it's done. It's featured loads of times on there. But the banks, of course, are in theory within their rights to say, well, you
done it.
you did it, mate. You put the details in and you sent it. So I'm not surprised they're trying to put things in place now. Just to make you, even if it just makes you stop and think that half a second, is this legitimate? But they had a story on there recently where somebody thought they're paying the builder. They got an invoice from the builder on the email, and it wasn't a builder, was it? It was somebody else. So you just don't know.
I was at one of the Barclays seminars or something a while back, and they said something's coming in play. It might be like another year or two away. But so when you're making the payment, it will then tell you the name that's on the account that it's been transferred to.
That's the biggest thing.
That will help a lot, because then you'll see some really random name that's on the account.
Yeah. Well, I thought I just presumed for years that the name on the account mattered when but it doesn't.
No,
They're only interested in sort code and account
name,
number.
isn't it, at that point?
Yeah, and what's happened is now, because of online banking, something else I wasn't aware of until recently, it affected a client, is bank account and sort codes aren't unique necessarily. So we had it where a client had a VAT repayment. The account number was right, but different sort code. But somebody else had that same account number, so it went to the other bank. Okay, it's internal, it's there, but they still had to go through a process to get the money out of the other person's account and put back in. So, and I just presumed that if your account number is unique, but there's too many now, so you're recycling them. So, so you do have to be a bit careful. So you've got that to contend with, as well as the cyber crime part of it. So,
wow, funny. Okay. I think we'll probably call it there. We're having quite a few technical issues with the cameras. We're going to have a look at those, but audio's fine. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in.
That's all right.
Really
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to be on. I've got a couple of weeks coming up now, so I'm going to be on holiday. So we'll be coming back with some more live streams in August, middle of September. So speak to you all soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks.